joining Property Tribes TV on location at the Property Business Show 2012 at Excel in London. And right now I'm joined by Matt Hutchinson, Communications Director of spareroom.co.uk. So thank you for joining us, Matt.
Good to be here.
Excellent. Now tell us a little bit of the history of Spare Room.
Yeah, the site was founded in 2004 as a national extension of a site called interlondon.com, which was founded at the end of the 90s. Rupert Hunt, the site's MD, moved down to London, struggled to find places to live without resorting to places like Loot and looking at adverts in shop windows, and thought the internet must be able to do this better with more text, with photos, with maps. Built a little notice board for flat shares. They became really popular really quickly. And as the numbers built, thought, well, we need a national version of this, not just in London, and Spare Room was born.
Fantastic. Now, clearly you originally appealed to people that wanted to rent out a spare room in their home, but that's progressed now, and landlords are actually using it to source tenants for roomlets and HMOs.
Yeah, there's a really definite sort of strata of landlords that deal with the young professionals and the multi-lets, and I've realised that the great yields to be made, and there are also people sharing for longer because they can't afford to buy, can't afford to rent on their own, but they want a good quality of accommodation and are prepared to pay a slight premium for that, and we're finding a real big growth in professional landlords who are happy to target that market.
Indeed, and you've recently joined Property Tribes, and it's great to have you contributing there and engaging with the community. Obviously, as a website, it must be quite nice to be able to have that interaction with your customers.
It's fantastic. I mean, I've got a background in retail, and if you run a shop, your customers come through the shop and you see them and you talk to them and you see what they're buying and you see who they are. But when you run a website, you take a month like January or February where we probably had 1 million people through the site, you don't see them. So to be able to actually talk to people, find out what their actual needs are rather than what we think they are is invaluable.
And what sort of tools have you got on there to actually help landlords let out their rooms? Because you've kind of extended that to whole dwellings as well, haven't you?
Yeah, because there's a real market for landlords who want to rent out a whole property in one go, don't necessarily want to find tenants at different times, but they're happy to let it to a group of people who are there already. So through the Spare Room site and through the events we run, the speed flatmating events, that's a way of bringing together groups of sharers who might want to all share a property in the same area, and they can then go on the site and find a whole property to let. So the landlord can do it in one go without having to source 4 or 5 tenants, maybe 2 months apart from each other, and it can become a lot of work.
And how do you think you differentiate yourself from the likes of, say, Gumtree or Easy Roomlet?
I think the main point for us, and again this harks back to having a retail background, I guess, is customer service. Just because you're a website doesn't mean you can ditch the customer service angle. If anything, it's more important. So we have staff in the office 7 days a week, answering emails, answering the phone, and we also think it's really important that the quality of the listings is high. There's plenty of classified sites where anybody can list anything, and we have a very complex set of filters and some very knowledgeable staff who spend time on the sites checking through the ads, and if anything is scam or spam or anything is not what it purports to be, we can get it off before the users even see it. And it's not necessarily something that people using the site are going to notice, but they'll feel it in the quality of the listings and the ease of the experience they have, and that's really important.
Indeed. I mean, about 3 years ago I wrote a post on Property Tribes called 5 Future Trends in Property, and one of the things that I predicted was the rise of the room let. Now this is clearly happening now, isn't it? What sort of data do you have on that?
It's been a really interesting time the last few years, because when we first launched the site and through till about probably 2007, 2008, the main body of people using it were sharers. So there'd be a group of flatmates, one would move out, they'd advertise the room and get somebody in. And as the recession hit, the credit crunch, more and more people started taking in lodgers, and also more people share for longer, and have created this new generation really of young professionals who have a good income, good jobs, secure income, and they're great tenants, and they're sharing into their late 30s, even early 40s, and you wouldn't have expected that a few years ago.
And that's actually a lifestyle choice as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and it gives people flexibility, it gives them maybe the opportunity to live in a better area than they would, or in a better property than they would if they were going to rent on their own. And people don't necessarily all want to live on their own,
Okay. Well, it's lovely talking to you, Matt, and I look forward to seeing more of you on Property Tribes, and thank you for talking to Property Tribes TV.
Thanks, great to meet you.